Hello, friends, and welcome into NFL Daily. I am your host, Tom Downey. Just me on today's show. We're going to kick things off with the latest rumors and news and signings and some trades buzz as well around the NFL. We'll start with Jadeveon Clowney, the number one player on the market right now by my evaluation, and I think most of your guys' is as well. Now, the interest in Clowney has not been what he expected. I think Clowney thought, and he asked for, hey, I want to get top-end money. I want to be one of the highest-paid edge rushers in the NFL. So far, now of course this can change, but so far that has not materialized. It just hasn't come close to it. And I think one of the potential reasons why there's been limited interest in Clowney is he had that postseason surgery to repair that sports hernia. Physicals right now, just in the reality of the world that we're at, they're a little tricky to do. I think that concerns some teams, and for Clowney, playing through the injury last year, only had 3 sacks. That is regression from what was good production 2017, 2018. Yes, he hasn't had the double-digit sack season, and there's still value for Clowney, but his market has not been what we anticipated or even what Clowney anticipated. Now, we'll talk more about Clowney here in a little bit, some destinations, but I also want to mention Robby Anderson, who offensively, one of the top available players, and is kind of in a similar spot. A report from The Athletic is that there isn't much interest right now in Robby Anderson. The Jets do want to re-sign him. The issue is the cost, and if the cost begins to approach $13+ million per year, I don't know if those teams are interested. So much like Clowney, Anderson's market is not what he wanted, and he's coming off another season of 700+ yards, 50+ catches, and a handful of touchdowns. But after that 2017 year, 63, 941, and 7, it was like, oh man, he's going to be a 1,000-yard guy coming up soon. That has not yet happened for Robby Anderson. And I wonder if maybe the comparison is Alshon Jeffrey a couple of seasons ago. Didn't quite get the market he wanted, took, I think it was a 1-year, $9 million deal, then cashed in with Philadelphia after that. So where will Anderson sign? There are still teams that need a wide receiver. I think the Jets might be the front runner still, as maybe as unusual as that might sound, because they do still need receiver help. But I will make this question the pinned comment on the video. So keep your votes coming here live if you're watching after the live video ends. Scroll on down to that pinned comment and cast your vote right there. All right, let's talk trades then. Some corners are apparently on the market. Quinton Dunbar, who did play very well for the Redskins last couple seasons, really. Well, he's being shopped by Washington. Now, he requested a trade a couple weeks ago back in February. Wasn't happy with his contract, wanted to get paid, didn't feel wanted by the new staff. He's entering the final year. Dunbar has been their number one cornerback. He is a very good player. I don't know if he's an elite corner, but at minimum, he's a good number 2, right? So there's certainly value there for that type of player. And I think the Redskins, if they wanted to, could net a pretty decent return. The issue for Dunbar is we saw Darius Slay go for just a 3rd and a 5th. That wasn't very much. Darius Slay, although older, is better than Quinton Dunbar. So I'm not quite sure what the market ends up looking like for Dunbar, but there is value there. Maybe he's a number 2, maybe less so of a number 1. But if the Redskins do choose to shop him, I think they could get at least a decent pick back for a team that I think quite clearly is still rebuilding. Now, we have told you guys before about the Nike jerseys on sale for $80. Well, they've changed the deal, and it's even better. NFL jerseys are now under $60. It's the same Nike ones. They've added 25% off. It's a fantastic deal. I never thought they were actually going to do this. I was surprised they dropped the price even lower. So if you were on the fence about getting one, now's your chance. Chatsports.com/jersey deal. That link's in the comments. It's in the description right now. You can click and go shop. All types of players, all types of colors, all types of teams, of course, as well. Whatever team you're a fan of, they got something on sale for you. That's chatsports.com/jersey deal. All right, next up from on the Eagles side of it, Rasul Douglas. They've been wheeling and dealing. Douglas has played a decent role today. Now in the past for Philadelphia. The Eagles have desperately needed cornerback help for years. They got one now in Darius Slay in that trade. Douglas entering the final year of his contract. The Eagles can save some money. They got more play out of Sidney Jones. I think they could shop Douglas. I don't think they're going to give him away. He could at least help you out. Now, Douglas is still not really a starting caliber corner. I think he's more of a depth guy, but we've seen this in the NFL before. You need corners. You need options there. Douglas is not a great one, but you know what? He's better than some of the other guys out there. He's okay. That's what Callie Gonzalez says here. I don't know if I think that's maybe fair for Douglas. I think he's an okay player. He's not going to be a superstar corner, but he's going to be good enough to at least merit a roster spot. So of the two corners on the trade block right now, Quinton Dunbar and Rasul Douglas, which one would you guys rather have? Type Q for Quinton or R for Rasul. I'm going to go with Quinton Dunbar. Now, Douglas is probably going to be cheaper for you to acquire, but I need good corners in today's NFL. So I'm going to go with Q here for Quinton Dunbar. You guys can cast your votes. As I see them flowing in right now, only Jordan and Renee are typing in R, or actually just Jordan is typing in R there. There is a 95% vote for Q. I agree with you guys, but keep them coming for me in the comments section. Now, we've had a lot of new people start watching our shows because of NFL free agency. So if you love the NFL, hey, we're going to keep you guys covered. We're not going anywhere. We're going to keep pumping out videos for you guys. So if you haven't already, click that big red button. And if you are already subscribed, do me a favor, double check that your notifications are actually turned on. There might be quite a few of you who think they're on, but they're only on personalized or off. Make sure they're on all. So hit that big red button. Make sure your notifications are turned on. We'll talk more about trades here. This one that might not be happening. Andy Dalton and the Patriots. The report from Jeff Howe of The Athletic is that the Patriots aren't really interested right now in Andy Dalton. And with the Bears adding Nick Foles, there's a very limited trade market for Dalton. The Bengals were hoping they could pull off a Ryan Tannehill type trade. Get back a pick for Dalton. He restructures his deal, goes to that position, or to a different team. The market's pretty thin right now. Now, the Patriots do need to figure out the quarterback spot. They were linked to Dalton before Brady left, and it would appear that, maybe that's not the most likely outcome right now. Dalton can still help you. He can still be a Ryan Tannehill type, at least how he was viewed last year. A high-end backup, maybe a low-end starter. $17.5 million is his salary this year. I don't know if teams want to pay that, though. Let me know your guesses in the comments section. There are a lot of different options out there. Andy Dalton could still be one if that's where you want to go. Cam Newton is out there. Any number of draft picks. There are still quarterbacks available for the Patriots to pursue. I see Josh Rosen coming in. Of course, Jarrett Stidham is an option. And you got dozens of draft picks as well. So let me know in the comments who you think will be the Patriots' starting quarterback in Week 1. Time now for the signings that have happened. There are quite a few of them. I saw one of you guys in the comments ask me about Pierre, Desir, and the Cowboys. Well, you can cross that off. Desir has agreed to a 1-year deal with the New York Jets. Now, Desir, I viewed it as surprisingly, was cut by the Colts on Saturday. They chose to move on from him as they looked for other options. He was in line to start for the Colts and now is also in line to start for the Jets. New York needed cornerback help. Desir did miss some time last year. I think this is a really smart pickup by New York. I think this, frankly, is actually one of the better moves they've made so far this offseason. More secondary notes here. DJ Swearinger is back to the Saints. This is technically a re-signing. It is a 1-year, $1.1 million deal for Swearinger. He was picked up by the Saints at the tail end of last season. Now he's reuniting with the Saints as well. Don't forget, by the way, the Saints also picked up Malcolm Jenkins. That, of course, is the far sexier and more impactful signing that they got. But they have Jenkins, they have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, they have Marcus Williams, and now DJ Swearinger. That safety room, knowing Jenkins and Gardner-Johnson can play some nickel corner as well, looks a heck of a lot better than it did entering free agency. Speaking of safeties, Will Parks is heading out to Philadelphia, where he'll join Jalen Mills and Rodney McLeod as the safeties for the Eagles. Now, Parks had interest from other teams. The Lions, one team that allegedly actually offered more money than what he ended up picking in Philadelphia. The overhaul of the Eagles secondary is very much underway right now. They lost Jenkins. They declined his player option, let him go back to the Saints. McLeod's going to be there for another year. Park's kind of almost a safety, big nickel safety type of guy. That's how Denver used him last year. It's a cheap deal for Philadelphia. I like this pickup a lot. Speaking of Philadelphia, they weren't done with just Parks as of late. Jatavis Brown, a one-year deal. Now, Brown out of Akron has played a decent amount for the Chargers. I think it's also fair to say that despite the experience, Jatavis Brown played a lot because the Chargers didn't have a whole lot of options at linebacker. The good news for Brown, at least, Philly's kind of in the same boat. They cut Nigel Bradham, Kruger-Hill left for the Dolphins, I believe. They're thin. That's so Brown comes in still young, a bit undersized. He's under 5'11". Didn't play much last year for the Chargers, but in terms of a cheap guy who can help you on special teams in particular, that does make sense for Philadelphia. So Brown comes in. Maybe he's more of a Kruger-Hill replacement, less so of a Nigel Bradham replacement. Speaking of the Jets, I mentioned them adding Pierre Desir. They've also added some more offensive line help in. The Jets are kind of taking a similar path to what we saw last year with the Bills. Remember, the Bills added a whole bunch of offensive linemen in free agency. The Jets have done the exact same thing. They paid, I think, too much money to George Fant. Now they bring in Greg Van Roten, a 3-year deal for him. The exact contract details are not yet known. Offensive line, in the end for New York, was the Jets' biggest need. They frankly probably aren't done adding options, adding all types of those things here for New York. As of right now, I think he will be a starter for the Jets. All right, Mike Remmers is next up here. He agreed on a 1-year deal with the Chiefs. Remember, they've lost some offensive linemen to injuries in season last year, and then they've also lost some players as well to free agency and cuts and whatnot. Remmers historically has been a starter for the Chiefs. That's the role he's played. In Kansas City, I wonder if he'll kind of be more of that backup swing offense lineman. Can play some tackle, can play some guard, right on center, but kind of like Cameron Irving in that regard as a better backup for Kansas City. They lost Steven Wisniewski. He went to the Steelers. I believe they cut Cam Irving as well. They need options there. The offensive line was really thin at the end of the year. It worked out in the end, but Remmers does provide some veteran depth for Kansas City. Another note here is on Malik Collins. I did want to make note of his contract details. Those have now come out in the from various reports here. It is a 1-year, $6 million deal with the Raiders. Now, almost all of that is guaranteed. It's not a huge surprise. If you have some guarantees, you might as well guarantee the full thing because they're going to get that money anyway. Now, I believe Collins wanted to go to the Raiders because he wanted to reunite with Rod Marinelli. I thought he might have been able to get a little bit more, but based on what Gerald McCoy took, for example, I think this contract was about right for the Raiders. He is going to be able to have some success generating pressure. That is the area he is best at, being a disruptor, getting pressure on the quarterback, even getting some sacks. However, there were some issues against the run for Malik Collins, so it's not an overpay by any means, but it's about the right value. It's a 1-year prove-it deal in the end for Collins and for Vegas.